I believe it's important to consider your product from a marketing perspective. What's your thoughts on this? Yeah, this comment came from a video I did where it was like the 7 top marketing tips if you have no money. So it's essentially how we marketed our business, our first startup, the $10 million one with no budget, right? So totally agree. It is important to consider your product when you do the marketing, like, what are the bells and whistles of that actual product offering? However, I think what really worked for us is what is the problem you're actually trying to solve and market that, right? Because if you start marketing the problem you're trying to solve, you start actually making people feel something when you speak to them about your product offering. It doesn't turn into, oh, this is a thing I'm about to buy from you or a service. It goes, oh yeah, you know what? That really will help me in my life, right? And for us, because it was restaurants being turned into co-working spaces, we weren't marketing the restaurants and the nice desks that you could work from. We were marketing flexibility. We were marketing community. Come meet all these like-minded people that couldn't afford an office and worked from home. You're suddenly going to meet a bunch of like-minded people who are starting their own businesses and all that kind of stuff. So we were marketing that, because then you're starting to play with, making people feel something when they look at your product offering. And then as we progressed after our first or second year, we actually had people meet and start businesses within our community. And that was the way that we marketed, off the success stories of people meeting and starting businesses and all that kind of stuff. So I think the human emotion is a super important play when you think about marketing. And it's just what people want right now. Like, especially when you think about how artificial intelligence is rising and we live in a very tech-driven world. I do think the way that you capture attention is by making people feel something, right? Because we're all just scrolling through all this crap and we're not really present anymore. Wow, who thought funding could be a red flag? Yeah, so funding is great, and a lot of people need it with certain ideas because they need that capital to build that product and get it off the ground. But there's plenty of first-time founders who think they need funding that actually don't, and they go down this path where they learn all the wrong things, right? I honestly believe if you could be a first-time founder that explores a product offering or a business where you don't need someone else's money and you don't strive for users or you don't strive purely for income and revenue and it's all about profitability like a real business should be, then you learn all the right things. Because the way that you grow that business is going to be the same way that you scale it. And all the things that you figure out on how to grow that business and make it work are going to be very capital, non-intensive strategies. And by that, I mean you don't need money necessarily to do that. Whereas if you're a startup that suddenly gets money and funding that you don't necessarily need, you're going to be throwing it at office space, you're going to throw it at staff. Every idea you have will require money to get it off the ground. And then you may find yourself in this vicious cycle where you need more funding so that you can grow the business more, and you're not even profitable yet because you're on this pre-revenue journey of just getting users that you'll monetize at some stage. I think it teaches you all the wrong things, right? And again, not to say funding is bad, but just really think about whether you need it or not, because we never took funding. We thought about it, but then we bootstrapped our entire journey to that $10 million valuation. What is the best way to break through in an already saturated market? Well, if you look into any business book, they're going to ask you to look at, well, what's your differentiator? Is it your pricing? Is it your cost basis? Is it your ease of use? Which are all fine. I actually think the answer to that question could be you. I think there's this phenomena occurring, and really there's a resurgence of it, where people want to connect with people, right? All these brands that are doing really well, I feel like if there's an individual behind it that community likes, and a very obvious example for it is when you think of Virgin, you think of Richard Branson, right? It's not just the airline on its own. I think that's what first-time founders should be trying to do. So it's almost like if you're trying to break into a market and you may have certain differentiators with your product offering, first of all, could your brand be a bit more human and lighthearted, cheeky, funny in your branding? If it's a very social media style friendly brand, I think that'll serve you really well because, we again live in a very attention-driven economy. So maybe if you could do it that way, be a bit fun. And as a founder, if you don't want to do it because you think you just don't like being in the limelight, which is totally fine, and it's got nothing to do with being introverted or anything like that, not being good founders, because I think some of the best founders and CEOs out there are introverts, and I've done a video on that as well if you're interested. Maybe you've got a co-founder or someone that can do that for you, right? As long as you structure it in the right way. Because I do feel like, again, we're living in a world where people crave that human connection. And to finish this video, why did you fail in the end? Well, it's because we sucked. No, I'm just kidding. We burnt out. Like, it was a 6-year journey. We sprinted many times when we should have just had a really good jogging marathon pace. And it got to the point where we just didn't have the drive anymore. My co-founder and I started getting distracted with other things, other even side businesses, right? We got to a point where we had some problems with some of the founding team members, unfortunately, which really hit our morale and hurt our soul in a way that kind of didn't help the burnout angle. So everyone's human, you go through it. And the market took a shit on us. Like, COVID happened, and because restaurants closed during COVID, the hospitality industry tanked because of it. That didn't help either. We do still think to this day it could have worked through COVID because it turned into more of a technology and a user play, less of a restaurant and a brick and mortar physical play. But we didn't have the energy to do it. I don't think we would have had the grit or the stones or the fortitude to push through that period when COVID kind of really tanked that company. So I do a lot now to try and avoid burnout, and a big way I do that is whatever I pursue in life now, even my current corporate executive job, I only put 80% in, right? And that's not a reflection of getting the job done or effort. It's more about if I've only got 80% of my soul to dedicate to something, and this doesn't include health and wellness and family time, that's all givens. It's more professional 80% time. I carve out 20% to do something like this, like YouTube, like these videos, because then you're not all in on something, which means that you don't necessarily get swayed emotionally, physically, spiritually, mentally by that one thing that will have its good days and its bad days, right? So the 80-20 rule is really important for me, because there's days where these videos, I really look forward to doing it and it saves my day and my week, right? Because I have control over this process. I don't have control if anyone watches it or not and the metrics behind it, but I have control around shooting it, how I want to edit it, and putting it out there, right? No one can mess with that formula, so I love it. So hopefully this video is helpful, and if you like it, let me know in the comments, because I'll do more of these, because I do get a bunch of comments throughout my videos. But yeah, have a great weekend, have a great week, and I'll speak to you again soon.